with you to talk about all topics related to workplace wellness and sharing information that will hopefully help you thrive in not only at work but personally as well, because whatever is going on at work definitely affects you in your personal life. So, hi, Alyssa. Welcome back. Nice to see
Linda,
you.
thank you. Likewise.
And since we are approaching the end of the year, we thought it would be the ideal time to talk about your goals, goal setting, and not only the goals that you've achieved and whether you're acknowledging and celebrating those goals, but what about those goals that perhaps you haven't achieved, and why that might be? And sometimes we have some resistance to the goals that we set. So we thought we'd discuss that a little bit and see where we go from there. So, Alyssa, over to you.
Yes, this is one of the topics that I love to talk about, to discuss, because I believe in life it's all about goals. To get to point A, from A to B, you need to create a roadmap. You have to have a goal of some sort. And I understand that maybe sometimes some people don't resonate with the word goal and it creates some resistance, but they have other ways to still accomplish what they set themselves to. So I
Mm-hmm.
think it is really important to not only work on smart goals, and we may know this, that it is always recommended to create smart goals because they have to be well formed goals, and they have to, again, be specific, be measurable, be realistic, also set a time frame for it, and that's all perfect. That's all the tactical part. And what about if you do all of that and still there is something that it's holding you back, that is still for some reason a part of you is not feeling comfortable, it's feeling resistance. You may have an idea of what it is, you may not know what it is, and as much as you try, there may be maybe procrastination. You may be experiencing procrastination, or maybe perfectionism. Maybe you don't feel ready because you want to be sure that everything looks perfect, that you have high standards, and you're afraid to even try it because you don't feel ready. So what about if we explore all of those things? And I think it is really key for us to dig deeper on those type of maybe limiting beliefs, maybe resistances, whatever it's on the way. I think those are cues for us to really investigate and to be aware of, because they can be full of information that can be very useful for
Mm,
us.
that's so true. That's so true. Um, and very often, and I'm sure this is true for you too, when people come to work with us, very often they are having the experience that they have a clear goal or clear goals, and they've been doing everything right. They've been doing everything they know they can do and should do to achieve that goal, and yet they're still not accomplishing it. And so they begin to feel, well, there must be something wrong with me, right? That I'm not achieving this. And so what we do is really look behind that. So, I think it's helpful to look behind the goal. First of all, why do you want that goal? Why is it important to you?
Totally.
What is it going to give you when you have it? And another thing that I think, if you the more you're connected with that why you want it, the more energy you're putting into it, the more emotion there is involved in it, and I think that can really help you achieve it. But the other thing is, and this was, I think, one of the hardest lessons for me to learn, and that is that you cannot be attached to the outcome. In other words, the more attached you are to how it happens, when it happens, where it happens. I think we get in our own way very often because we think it has to be a certain way. And it may be that we can achieve that goal in a different way, in an even better way, but we don't know what that is. And so sometimes, because we're so attached to, well, this is how it's going to happen, we actually create obstacles for ourselves because we're too attached, and we're saying this is how it has to be, when there are other ways that it could happen for you. And when you get out of the way and let go of that attachment, then you allow it to happen.
Right. I think it's always important to create a plan and lay it out as you would like for
Mm.
it to happen. But again, being open that it could go even better, or
Mm.
trusting that maybe, it didn't happen for a reason and something else will happen, will align, whatever it is. But that's so true, because I feel like when we start forcing things, or we feel so attached to the outcome that it has to be a certain way, that's a way of interfering somehow.
It is, and I think we also have this idea. We're always told you've got to make it happen,
Right.
and I get that. I get that in the concept that you have to take action. You can't just sit back and visualize your goals and hope they happen. You
Mhm.
have to take action. But I think, rather than making it happen, it's more to do with, how can I allow this to happen? In other words, what that means is, if you get everything right within yourself, so you are aligned completely with what it is that you want, and then the actions that you're taking are more inspired actions rather than what you think you have to do, or coming from a place of trying to force it, that is more beneficial, I've found, than trying to make something happen. Because when you've got that energy of forcing, it can often backfire. And you
Yes.
may see others doing it, achieving what you want to achieve, and you wonder, why can't I? Well, I think it's important to take a step back, first of all, connect with that why you want it and what it means to you. One of the things I've found that really helps is to think also, yes, you need the goal, but also think a little bit bigger than that. And what is your intention? And this is why the why part of it is so
Yes.
important. What is your intention, and what is the experience that you want? So, for example, if you are without a job and you are looking for a job, and you've been applying for jobs and you've been for interviews, and you know very clearly what job you want and what kind of salary you want, and it's just not happening for you, if you take a step back, what is it that you really want? Well, I want a job so that I can pay my bills. I want a good job. Well, think bigger than that. Think about the experience you want. You don't just want a job, I think. I think what you want is a job where you feel happy and fulfilled, where you are appreciated and valued for what you bring, and where you are well compensated for what you do. So that's a bigger picture, and that's the experience that you want. Because I see so often people, for example, go from job to job to job, having negative experiences in each one, and that's because they're just focusing on the fact that I want a job, so I'm going for the next job, right? If you think about what is the experience you want in this next job? How do you want to feel? So it's much bigger than just, I want to get a job and I have to apply, send out so many applications a week to get one. Does that make sense?
Totally makes sense. And focusing on that experience is a broader view. You,
Mm-hmm.
of course, may want the benefits, the certain pay, but what about the relationship you're looking for
Mm.
with your supervisors, your bosses, with your coworkers, the type of hours, the flexibility? Like, start putting that into the formula as well.
Yeah.
One other thing is that I found too on the job application, I mean, when people are looking for a position, is that they may feel they're not enough or they don't feel qualified for the job and they're even afraid to apply.
Mm,
So that's also an important thing to work on. Why you're having those thoughts. I understand that certain positions may not apply to you because of the level of expertise, and but there may be things that may not apply just everything, like everything that the job description says. So that's also important to tune in and really see how you feel about it, and maybe take the risk,
mm,
and and also check what are those thoughts that are coming to you. Why are you thinking this way, that you're not enough, or how loud is that voice talking to you? Those are the things that I like to always addressed and ask my clients, because there is a lot of power behind that.
mm.
And also to learn, where is this coming from? Who's this voice?
Yeah,
Where did you first hear this voice?
yeah. That inner judge or inner critic that tells us, we're not good enough, we won't accomplish what we want to accomplish. It's really important to pay attention to that, because it can control you to such an extent, and it can do so without you even being aware of it. To such an extent where you don't. So imagine you might apply for a job that seems out of your area of expertise, maybe is a big stretch for you. Well, maybe that is not the right job for you, but maybe a possibility is that as they interview you, they like you so much they think of you for another position. So what do you have to lose by at least putting in an application? I think it's very often we limit ourselves because we think, well, we can't really imagine ourselves in a bigger sort of role or a bigger scenario. And so we try to limit ourselves by sticking with what we know. You are capable of so much more than you know.
Yes.
And whenever that voice pops in to tell you you're not, or this isn't going to work, or who's going to want to hire you, or that you don't know how to do it, there's so many things you can learn how to do things. If you don't know specific parts of a job, you can learn those things. So I think it's really important to just, again, we say this every week, self-awareness is such an important thing. You've got to be aware of what's going on, what's the pattern. Do I keep having the same experiences, negative experiences in my jobs? Do I find that I'm applying for jobs and nobody's responding? Or do I find that I have the first interview and then nobody gets back to me? And how do I feel about that? All of those things are relevant because it's giving you a lot of information about what is going on, and is this the right thing for you? Are you thinking big enough? um, are you thinking enough about the experience you want and why this is so important to you? I mean, if you're just saying, well, I need a job because I have to pay the rent or I have to pay the mortgage, you need to think bigger than that. It's not just about that. You want something. Wouldn't it be better to have a job that you love, where you're working with people who you really get on well with, and where you really feel fulfilled and you feel excited every morning to get up and go into that job? um, that, I think, is what you want, and that can be part of setting the intention and
Mm,
thinking about the experience that you want rather than just a job. So I really encourage people to think more about the experience that you want when you're setting a goal than just about the goal itself.
yes. And create a goal that is specific, not so broad, like I want to be happy or I want to be healthy. Those are great, but they're so broad that it's really hard to quantify, to measure, to really get in touch with them.
Yeah.
And that's what happens in life. We may have, for example, even with finances,
Mm-hmm.
I want to make X amount of money by this date.
Mm-hmm.
That may sound like a specific goal,
Mm-hmm.
but how does that feel first? Do you think you can make it? Like, and maybe you're like, it'll be great if I make that amount of money. But then a part of you may be feeling like, really? Do you think you can do this? You've never done this before. Maybe this voice, right? Talking to you. And what I've learned too is that we have to be open minded. When I set that type of financial goals, I've learned to look at prosperity around me, abundance, not only on the money piece, but how many connections I've made, how many things in life happen, like from little miracles. It's amazing. Like having, for example, I had a big medical bill from my son who was in the hospital, and it happened that I talked to the right person. I got into the right channel of how things are managed in the hospital, and I got a huge discount. So that's a big blessing. I mean,
Yeah.
it's savings. I didn't manifest like getting that amount of money, but I got a savings. So those are the little miracles again that I think are important for us to look at.
Mm.
uh, and they're always there. So be open
Same.
for that and make that intention. I'm open to miracles to unfold. I'm open to seeing the good in every situation and attracting that into my life.
That is so important, Alyssa, because we often focus on with something like that. It's a great example. You've got a bill, a big bill all of a sudden, and now you've got to pay this. And that can send you down a rabbit hole of how am I going to pay this? This is so awful, and you can just go into this negative spiral, which means you would block yourself off from meeting that right person, talking to that right person, getting the help you needed, and getting that discount. I mean, sometimes we think I have to set the goal of I need this specific amount of money so that I can pay this bill. I have to have this and it has to happen in this way. By being open, you opened yourself up to more possibilities and allowed something great to happen, which couldn't have happened if you'd stayed focused on, oh my gosh, how am I going to pay this bill? Yeah.
Totally.
Oh gosh, we are out of time again.
Yes.
All right. Well, yeah, that's something we could go on and talk about for a long time, obviously. But so next week we're going to be talking about companies who invest in wellness, and what companies do and the benefits of that, and what happens when you don't. So that's our topic for next week. So I hope you'll tune in and watch that. Thank you to everybody who's watched this with us today, and we will see you next week. Thank you, Alyssa.
We will see you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.